Greetings, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Conrad's Concerns, the podcast. I asked that if you like the podcast, please take the time to subscribe wherever you found this podcast. Well, it's a new year. All these years have gone by, and still life seems to have its problems. I mean, it's interesting. When we manage to conquer something in one area of our life, then there's this other thing left to conquer. I mean, it always seems like we're conquering something, and that's why Jesus probably says, take no thought about tomorrow because you got enough to worry about today, dude. So I'm starting to learn that. Anyway, I was pondering a little bit today, and I was thinking about when I was a kid. I used to think strange things. Growing up to me was magical. When I was a kid, I used to imagine how cool it would be to finally be a grown-up, and be able to make my own decisions, to live life by my own terms, to do the things I wanted to do, to be the master of myself, answering to no one, being grown-up stuff. And I used to think, I don't know if you did, but I used to think that grown-ups, they had the answers to life, and that they kept it secret until we reach a certain age of maturity where we can understand it. Kind of like, how the Santa delusion is washed away as we grow older. Oh, how disenchanted I am that I finally made it to adulthood. What a letdown. I've learned that grown-ups, they never really knew too much more, philosophically speaking, than children. As a matter of fact, kids seem to have a way of removing the complications from a situation, and they look at it with a certain clarity, the innocence of a child. They call a spade a spade. But children have their problems too. Children have to be taught how to share with one another. Children have to learn not to hit each other. Children throw sand in each other's eyes. I remember that. And children have bullies that steal lunch money. Teenagers, as we get a little older, we know they're run by hormones, it seems. When I was a teenager, I noticed that people didn't really think about the relevance of learning and wisdom. And they think the strangest things are cool. With each new generation, there's something else weird, or sick, whatever you want to call it. Like, they think wearing their pants down around their knees is cool, or putting a nose ring or whatever is cool. And I remember being a teenager, the thing that predominated my thinking was I couldn't wait till Friday night, and get to go out with the friends. And that was always in the forefront of my mind during the week. And teenagers, of course, have pimples. Now, I used to think that when I was going through those phases, that eventually the time of my life where I was going to be ignorant would disappear. And finally, some wisdom would fall out of the sky with age and just grace me with the secret to life. The secret to life. One can observe the differences as we put away those childish things. However, when we age, there are some things that are childhood. There are some things in our childhood that we probably shouldn't let go of. Children don't commit adultery. Children trust on a level that us grown-ups don't seem to trust in. Children seem to love in a genuine way that doesn't involve false motives or hormones or whatever. And the children actually see the beauty in a gorgeous day. Children don't have to work, and children can occupy their time with Legos. Now that I'm grown, I can see that grown-ups are really just messed up people, and we're masquerading around like we somehow have our act together. These things that take hold when we're small, they plague us for the rest of our lives. We'll remember the sins that we did. I'm sure right now you can probably think of something that you wish you hadn't have done as a child. And we remember the times that sins were committed against us by other people. And we remember these sins or these offenses or errors. We remember them all of our lives, these experiences. And the way we represent them in our minds or our ensuing opinions, they shape and mold us the rest of our lives. Sooner or later, as we age, we prioritize putting food on the table. I mean, it becomes all engrossing. It somehow becomes the top priority. Men do it in a way of earning a living, and women do that too, I guess, now. But they did have the option of getting married. Even women get married and sometimes get jobs and raise families. I mean, things are a lot more complicated in the new millennium. But the common goal of building a nest and acquiring food, hunting, gathering, whatever, seems to still be common to both genders. And then time goes by as we get older, we get college degrees maybe. We get careers, we get children, we get mortgages. And then we start thinking about hoarding up for our retirement. The nest egg. And you know what? We seem to forget all about the meaning of life. We're too busy. Now, one thing that holds true throughout our lives, for most people anyway, is that experts tell us what to do, because we don't know what to do. Now, these experts, they used to be our parents. And then we grew up and found out that they really didn't know what they were talking about, like we originally thought when we were children, like they knew everything. And then we trade the expertise of our parents in for people on television, maybe, that they seem to have what we want, and they dangle it in front of our eyes. And they tell us how to build a 401k. They tell us how to have a good marriage. They tell us how not to overeat. They tell us how to take vitamins. They tell us what to do with our pets. They tell us everything but the real meaning to life. And then there's the television evangelists that tell us, we need to tithe to them and God will show us favor because they somehow have his phone number and his address. They got it tucked away in their pocket. And they teach us a bunch of rules to follow and a bunch of ways to behave. And maybe they'll even give us a prophetic word to steer our lives. And we tell ourselves that this must be true. They represent God and they have to be telling the truth. Well, are they? How many religions are there in the world? How do you know that yours is the right one? Are you going to believe that Jesus is Lord just because somebody else tells you? Is that your method of believing? Would you buy real estate the same way? Would you buy real estate just because someone tells you it's a good deal? Or are you going to ferret out the facts and find out if indeed it is so? Is it possible that you're more careful with what you do with your hard-earned money than what you do with your soul? Is that possible? Back to these people that skate through life. One of the things that happens is we or they, we never seem to confront that small voice that's been talking to us since our childhood. Remember that voice? Remember that unction? The voice that wants us to find out the true meaning of life. Somehow we learn to not listen to that voice because we need to put food on the table. And that comes from the sweat of our brow. We're too busy to listen to the truth. And that voice of consciousness or truth, it becomes more and more drowned out the more we give in to our friends when they influence us to sin with them. That voice certainly starts taking a back seat. The voice that we used to trust as a child seems to altogether vanish. Revelation 3:20. Jesus is speaking. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him and he with me. Listen to the voice. Don't let other people tell you what to do, even me. Learn the truth from Jesus directly. Don't wait till you get to your deathbed to find out the meaning of life. You may not get that luxury. Till we meet again, dig deeper. Go higher.